Hello, and welcome back to The Letter. When we last left off, Zach, Rebecca, and Ash were taking turns watching Isabella, who is in the hospital in a coma. And Rebecca's kind of having a tiff with Ashton, though we don't know why at this point. My apartment is more than welcome sight after everything. Although it's small and begs for a little cleaning and repair, it is, at the end of the day, the closest I have to a respite. I'm pretty sure it's a respite. Or respite. I don't know. Someone correct me. Sure, my sister would have a thing or two to say about the mess every time she visits, but it's still home to me. A mild draft sweeps into the room as I close the door behind me, slightly disturbing the papers on the nearby fridge. Most of them schedules, lists, and tasks for the next few days. Something to keep me busy while I sort things out, sort myself out. And now with what happened to Isabella, something to temporarily take my mind off things. A low note flutters by my feet, the letters on the surface glaring at me with mute intensity. Ermengarde Mansion, H. Wright, 11 a.m. After Ashton's warnings, they all hold a different meaning now. October 27th, Thursday. I can read. The next 2 days rush by in a blur, altogether leaving a collective mess of work suddenly piling up and new unexpected acquaintances. Or friends. Depends on how you look at it, really. Either way, I'm stuck developing these photos at 3 in the morning to reach a deadline set by an overeager art director. Don't get me wrong, Julius is good, has a vision, and knows what he wants, but damn can he be too enthusiastic sometimes.
Doesn't matter when you couldn't sleep anyway.
There is nothing new in it, of course. After years of working as a freelance photographer, it's simply something I have grown used to. Get to know people, build a client base, do good work, and cash in some late hours if need be. Rinse and repeat. It certainly takes a while to get some footing on the field, but that's the kind of thing that pays off in the long run as long as you keep at it. Give enough time, you might end up with big names on your client list. Names like the Wrights, in particular. I never did pay much attention to them, but it's virtually impossible not to hear about them when a local news channel or paper has something to say on their name. A party here, an acquisition there. Sometimes it's a new business venture, other times it's the everyday gossip that typically follows popular people like them. Not in a million years did I ever imagine I would end up working for such a high-profile couple. And between that and the fuss that comes with, it leaves me no time to ponder over whatever happened to Isabella or why Ash is so adamant we keep away from the pair.
They do seem like the good folk, though, despite the whole fame thing.
Hannah is good folk. Luke is bad folk. Sure, there was a rumor running around years ago about him being involved in some business scandal. But just like every gossip blown out of proportion by the media, nothing came of it, and eventually it simply died down. Much is definitely left to be said for the husband, but I doubt a woman like Miss Wright would pick him if he doesn't have any good points at all. I will say two things for Luke. Luke has 2 good points, which you can arguably condense into 1 point, and that is when he cares about someone, he really does care about them. In Hannah's chapter, however, we showed what happens when he stops caring about someone. Miss Wright, Hannah herself, though, she ain't particularly bad the way the press makes her out to be. The tabloids had it all wrong, that's for sure. For someone born with a silver spoon in her mouth, well, she ain't exactly what I was expecting. Among other things, the newfound friendship is what I least expected from her, but here we are. Although with a life as public as the Wrights, no wonder it's the woman who often gets the crappy end of the stick. I can't help but feel sorry for her. She's a real nice person when given the chance. Heck, she might have even ended up friends with Rebecca and Isabella too if they weren't living worlds apart. Probably. The beep quickly pulls me back before my thoughts travel any further. In one practiced motion, I carefully place the wet print I'm holding on the drying rack and amble over my makeshift dark room to get the last photos from the water bath. Inside the converted broom closet, the film processor lets out another soft clack before going on its standby mode. At its mouth, a lone photograph sits on the tray, barely visible with a lack of light. It's the last one tonight for the set Miss Wright requested. I don't usually make this a habit, giving away stuff, that is. It's bad for the business, no matter how well-intentioned or generous you are. This exception, however, she did treat me well and was a pleasant companion all throughout the shoot. Even if she didn't ask, I would have probably given her a few prints just for the hell of it. Miss Wright ain't such a bad subject matter to begin with. And maybe this is just me, but for someone who has everything at the palm of her hands, all the money in the world, a loving husband, and a plenty big mansion to call home, she's lonely. She doesn't just appear like it. It shows in the tone of her voice, how she moves, and most certainly in her smiles. Always hidden behind the glamour for the world to never see. Sometimes for people like her, small things like these helps. A little reminder that the world can be kind too. Water drips from the paper as I blindly pick it up and gently lay it on another tray holding a decent amount of photo flow. A few seconds under the solution is all it needs before it's ready for drying. No good rushing this last one, even if my body's already screaming for some decent snooze. My hand fumbles for the light switch, moving towards it with familiarity while I fish for a squeegee among the mess of tools on a drawer with the other. The bulb flickers twice before it glows subtle and casts a soft light in the tiny space. When I glance back down, squeegee in hand, ready to finish the process and finally call it a night.
What on earth?
Her head is gone. Blurred and distorted beyond recognition, rather. The area completely smudged over, leaving no trace of the same sweet smile the good woman carried in all the previous prints.
Damn, that was too careless.
A common mistake to make, of course, if one is negligent enough to pick up a newly processed photo in the dark, like I apparently did. It has happened before, loads of times actually. But I still can't help but feel a small pang of frustration over one mistake a newbie would likely make. With a sigh, I reach up for the switch again, intending to develop a new one from scratch.
It could pass off for one of those supernatural pictures they show on TV, though.
I wonder what it is. A memory clicks, one cursory thought in the sea of many, and a short yet distinct second from the day before. A glimpse is all I got, but it's enough to burn the image in my mind. There was a shadow. No. A woman. In her 20s or early 30s. How the hell can you tell? I'm pretty sure that's her brain. And with how far gone her flesh alone has become, it's not possible to tell at first glance. The skin itself has already taken a sickly pale color, rotten in most parts, blood dripping from every open gash and lesion on her body. Bony hands grip Miss Wright's neck like a noose, staining the skin beneath with a vibrant shade of scarlet. Nothing but malice fills the gleam in her eyes.
Zachary?
Not for me, but for Miss Wright.
Zach, is something the matter?
Oh no, there's nothing wrong.
I'm not hallucinating.
Let's get back to the pictures. Can you move a bit more to the left, yeah?
The memory alone is enough to make me retch. I brushed it off then. A trick of the eye, I told myself, or a product of the heat. The weather has been unexpectedly warm recently, so it shouldn't be too surprising for such things. Okay. If I was having such a vivid visual and auditory hallucination, I would seriously go to the doctor and be like, yo, this seems like some serious, even if it is the heat, I'm like, you're like having a heat stroke or something. So I go to the damn doctor. Please. The weather has been unexpectedly warm recently, so it shouldn't be too surprising for such things to happen. Yes, it should be surprising! As far as I'm aware, hallucinations aren't super common. And well, blaming this on the usual, fatigue, an overworked brain, the weather, and amateur error on my part is far more convenient. It makes a whole lot of sense than what the small voice inside my head whispers. The same tiny voice that only makes itself known when something's afoul, the same one that lent a curious ear to Isabella's worries about the mansion. And with each second I spend staring at this photograph, the murmurs in my head only grow louder against my ears. Someone has to know. I mean, it could go either way, but let's go with Ash. Ash will give me flack for this. He will. I can already hear what he's going to say about this the moment I bring it up. Hell, before he even sees anything, I'll wager. The guy is a skeptic through and through, and it'll take more than my account for him to even consider this. But when you've been there, seen something enough to raise the hairs at the back of your neck and leave you wanting to flee or hide, what he thinks is the least of my concerns. I am no hero. That's a title best reserved for someone else. Still, if this will help him change his mind, it's worth a try. It won't change what happened with Isabella. But she certainly won't wish for anything to happen to us, either. Outside, the sun has yet to rise. I've still got a few hours before dawn. Good enough time to mull over how I'll go about this with him. Plenty of space to check if I'll get the same result if I redo the process again. The film processor hums back to life at my touch. The light switch gives out a soft click, and darkness embraces the small closet again.
Somehow those urban legends don't sound so silly now.
Sometimes I wish Ash would make himself easier to find. 24 messages, 13 phone calls, and 1 visit to his flat later, I still have no idea which rock in Luxmore he went off to hide under again. The guy has his own place, but refuses to stay in it. I hope you guys didn't see that, but if you did, I'm sorry. Has his own phone, but doesn't answer any of his calls or give any indication he's gotten my messages. Most of the time, he'll just show up on my front door. Sometimes in the middle of the night, complaining about how uncomfortable it is to sleep at the back of his car. As if the old couch in my flat is any better. Nothing new from him, though, but a bit frustrating, really. There's the police precinct, of course. Then again, he's not there most of the time either, and if that's also true for today, he's likely out on another stakeout. There's nothing much to do for me but to wait if that's the case.
Let's just hope I'm lucky enough today.
While Luxmore is a relatively peaceful city boasting a low crime rate, its precinct stays abuzz with activity. As soon as I open the glass front doors, murmurs coming from the people waiting in the lobby welcome me. Officers can occasionally be seen shuffling in and out of the rooms, greeting civilians with a casual smile and a polite nod. Some, though, look a little worse for wear, like the receptionist, who looked at me with much disdain the moment I arrived. Thankfully, I won't have to deal with him today. Before I can even step in, Ashton's voice, though low, comes from the hallway adjacent to the lobby.
Not even for just 1 minute?
No. The case was dismissed, remember?
You were the one handling that case.
If you want access to those records, you've got to ask Chief. I was taken off it before shit went to hell. Why do you even bother? Even Professor Clark seems to have given up on that.
Well, Never mind, you won't understand.
Right. I know you owe Professor Clark a lot, but the right guy isn't just someone you mess with. They've got the money. Who knows what else gets swept under the rug with them involved.
That takes a special kind of ignorant not to know.
And a smart person to know which boundaries he can't cross. You're a bright guy, you'll figure it out. In any case, I've got to get going. Another missing person case on my hand. Benjamin on the front desk looks like he's about to maul someone after the 4th one yesterday. Murders, people missing, what a time to be alive. Man, I miss the old Luxburn.
You and me both. I'll see ya. Gonna go grab some lunch.
He notices me first as soon as he enters the lobby and pauses. Confusion briefly crosses his face until I fish out the phone from my pocket and wave it up. Frowning, he pulls his own mobile out, wordlessly fiddling with it for a few seconds before sighing heavily. There ain't any annoyance in him when he glances up, though, only mild exasperation and what might be a hint of amusement. Although, underneath all that, there's something else, too. Hiding subtly in the dark circles under his eyes, his slumped posture and partly unkempt appearance.
Sorry, I haven't gotten a chance to check any of my messages yet. I was looking up something.
You sure you can still step out like that?
Yeah, no problem. I need to get out anyway. What are you doing here in the first place?
Well, I was hoping you could check something for me. But you don't appear to be...
He stops me with a tap on my shoulder, walks past me straight to the door, and gestures with his head towards their very irked receptionist when I raise an eyebrow in question.
Over lunch. I haven't eaten anything since last night, and Benjamin there doesn't really like loiterers around here.
Wordlessly, I follow after him, but not after sending the poor guy behind the table an apologetic smile. As expected, he takes a seat in the farthest corner of the cafe, a good way from the window, but easily allows a view of who comes and goes. secluded enough not to be disturbed by the lunch hour rush or be overheard by a curious bystander. Because this is the only goddamn cafe or restaurant in fucking Luxborn. If I didn't know this is lunch he invited me to, I would automatically assume I got dragged into another stakeout. After years of knowing him, though, this has simply become one of the many habits he has I've gotten used to. Ash letting out long-drawn yawns every few minutes, however, is a new thing. Even as food arrives minutes later, he stays distracted. The cake looks delicious, and the barista is amazing. His eyes distant, focused on some point at the table, and a frown creasing his eyebrows as if in deep thought. This, while I'm left to grapple for a decent thing to talk about over a plate of vegetable quiche, his odd choice of cake for lunch, and the hubbub surrounding the two of us. Small talk has never been my strong point, and against every sensible and wise in the world, I blurt out the first thing that pops in my head.
Any news about Bella's condition?
He pauses, the fork stilling halfway to his mouth. Ash is far from the most open person in the world. Even to us, the people he already lets see past the cool and distant persona, there are some things he keeps safely tucked away to himself. In that one unguarded second, though, a pained expression shoots across his features, when he doesn't bother hiding under his usual mask of detachment. I'm not sure why, of all things happening right now, I find that alone unnerving.
No change since I left yesterday. Rebecca visited last night, said something about an aunt taking things from here. I didn't hear most of it. I was needed back at the precinct, but I'll probably drop by again later to see if I can help.
I think it's the one who helped to get the job at BRC.
Really? I only just found out. I thought Isabella was living alone all this time. Well, I assume since Becca is her emergency contact.
She is living alone, technically. Her aunt's working pretty far from here. She only mentioned her in passing before. Can't very well help their family when her aunt has her own set of mouths to feed. Bella had to be the one to take the job. Something like that. And it ain't even like she'd want someone else to do the work. If she can, she'll do it herself.
She's stubborn, that's what she is.
You shouldn't talk.
He gives a non-committal hum and returns to his food. He hasn't even taken a bite when he lets out another yawn. This time I really have to ask. It's been a while, I don't remember what the answers are. Where did I put my stupid thing? Bear with me.
You look like you're about to pass out.
I'll be fine. What I'm doing is more important.
Don't you think you need to slow down for a little?
He laughs, the mirth more from the incredulity of my suggestion than any amusement he finds in a friend worrying for his well-being.
You aren't seriously asking me that.
Maybe I am. Think of it this way. If it's Rebecca who's asking, oh, she won't be as nice as I am.
That's low, Zach.
Sure it is. I'd hate to bring Rebecca into this, but if I can't reason with him, she sure as hell can. That alone seems to knock some sense into him, though, if the horrified look on his face says something.
I'm just giving you your options.
Yeah, I get it. I'll see what I can do after this.
Are things really that bad?
You're looking at me right now? What do you think?
Cut back on the sarcasm, Ash. I really want to know what's happening here.
Ash drags both of his hands down his face and lets out a huff, weighted with every frustration he's carrying in him. For an instant, he opens his mouth to say something, probably to argue, but hastily decides against it.
Traffic cams were useless. And those were supposed to be high def to begin with. Damn, huge waste of taxpayers' money when we can't even use it when we need it. The people at Tech have been at it since we got hold of the footage, and all they managed to salvage was a scant few seconds before she crossed the road. How does that help?
Well, there must be some use in that alone. Like, maybe someone pushed her?
There was no one else. She just stopped right in the middle of the road. Just right in the fucking middle. It's like there was something there that prevented her from crossing. I just don't know what.
Ghost.
Zach,
Those are why your
Isabella's
cameras don't
not
work.
that stupid. There was something there. That's what made her stop, and the traffic cams didn't catch it. Something.
Abruptly, he trails off and gapes at me with wide eyes as if something has just snapped properly back into place inside his mind.
Or someone. Someone was there.
Yes, boop.
Actually, if we're going to talk about someone, maybe this has something to do with it as well.
The expression on his face grows more puzzled with each photo I spread on the table. There's about 8 of them, all of it reprints of the same thing, Miss Wright's distorted head on the photos. He takes a minute to go through each, eyeing the prints warily. The furrow on his brow doesn't ease even as he gathers all of it into one pile and sets them in one neat stack in front of me with a heavy sigh.
Hannah Wright?
Yeah. How did you...
The locket. She never takes it off. Evan's family heirloom.
I don't even think about asking why or how he knows that. If he's investigating them, he'll likely have already dug up every unimaginable dirt on them, including family history.
You never mentioned you got work from them.
Yesterday, yeah. It's just a small feature for a magazine. Interviews, photos, standard stuff, nothing big. But see, here's the thing. I don't know how else to put this out there without sounding crazy, but there really is something odd with that place. Remember the letter?
He drags in a breath, reaches up his nose and pinches it, like the action alone will help grant him all the patience in the world to continue this conversation.
Please tell me this isn't about that again.
No, Ash, you've got to listen this time.
I am listening, and I can't believe that just came out of your mouth. These are some blurred out photos, and that letter is just a stupid prank. I expected this from Isabella, not you. You're the photographer here. I don't see any need to get worked up over this.
I know what you mean, but will you hear me out first?
Ash leans back on his seat and doesn't say anything further. He gestures for me to continue with a wave of his hand, impatience clearly on his face. Any other person telling him this and he'll walk out without batting an eye. I suppose the only reason he's giving me the benefit of the doubt is because we know each other.
Ash, I don't easily buy into these things as much as you do. Yesterday, though, behind Hannah.
He blinks at that, his eyebrows lifting momentarily before settling into a deep frown.
Hannah? Since when were you on a first-name basis with the Wright missus?
Why does that even matter?
I thought you said this was just a gig.
His voice stays level, but the accusation in it is as clear as day. It hits a nerve in me somehow, more than that tone usually does. I do get where he's coming from, but patience can be a tough thing to summon at times. But we didn't get this far as friends if we let our own tempers be the lord of us.
Bro, it's really just another freelance work.
He eyes me skeptically, the same stare he reserves for people he interrogates. I've been on the receiving end of it before, early in our friendship. Years later, he's already got the unimpressed police look down pat.
And there's nothing going on with me and Miss Hannah. She was just being friendly. Insisted I call her by her first name. That's all.
I wasn't implying any of that. You're not that sort of guy.
I know, but let's just get that out of the way. The just-in-case elephant in the room scenario, She's a married woman, Jesus!
Not with the image she presents in public.
No, but trust me, she ain't any of the things the tabloid writes about her.
Like I read any of those.
I know you don't, but keep it in mind, will you?
Will do. Though I can't promise she'll get off scot-free if she's involved. And without your acting, it feels like I'm doing a solid for your girlfriend.
Cut that out, will you? And I'm not asking you to. Besides, what's currently going on here is more important.
All right, lay it in.
Recounting everything takes the better half of our lunch, but he manages to listen through the entire thing without a snide comment. A feat in itself, actually. At the end of it, Ash merely nods, takes out his phone, and excuses himself. Off to a far corner of the cafe for some privacy, if you can even afford to have such in a place as public as this. He returns in a little while and hands me a small card.
I can't stop you if you're willing to believe in this crap. Give this guy a call. You're better off talking to him than me. He's at the public library now if you want to catch him there. He used to be my professor back in the university.
Oh, no, I don't think that's...
I don't remember, did I have Isabella talk to him? I think so. It's the same dude.
Go on, I already gave him a heads up. You know I can't help you out, man.
He gives me my arm a tap and walks off, mumbling about checking back how things are at the precinct. I don't see his face when he leaves, but I know this is his own little way of helping out despite what he doesn't voice out. And that'll be it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.